We've got a lot of cutting hours on our saw. It's time to check the wear parts. First, start by taking the saw out of the tub, and then unplugging it from its power source. Let's take a look, shall we? Let's start by removing the groove grommet assemblies from the saw. The outside consists of a groove grommet assembly and a Phillips head screw. The inside consists of the same groove grommet assembly, a Phillips head screw, and a brass spacer. Make sure to keep these parts handy. You'll need them to put the saw back together. Now let's take a look at the difference between a new groove grommet and a well-used groove grommet. A groove grommet starts out its life with a V shape that tightly holds the blade. As it wears, it begins to open up into a large U shape, like we see here. When it opens up, it allows the blade to wander a bit. The more it wears, the more the blade will wander. So it's a good idea to visually inspect these grommets and also take note of how the blade is cutting. The groove grommets last approximately the life of one blade, but remember, the more aggressively you use the saw, the more often you'll have to replace them. To remove a groove grommet, take a small flathead screwdriver, place it under the lip, push down, and pry it up, just like opening a soda can. Here's another easy way. Take a utility knife and cut straight down to the bottom of the grommet. Keep those fingers clear of the blade. Then with a flathead screwdriver, wedge the cut open. And remove the grommet. Now it's time to put a new groove grommet onto the assembly. You'll notice that it has a slightly rounded side and a completely flat side. Make sure this flat side sits flush with the flange. Place the grommet over the assembly at an angle and push straight down. Make sure to visually inspect that the groove grommet is sitting flush with the flange. You'll notice that when removing the groove grommet assemblies from the saw, that one faces inward and one faces outward. It doesn't matter which way each of them face, as long as it's in the opposite direction. Now let's reinstall the groove grommet. To install the outside groove grommet, place it over the boss and slide the Phillips head screw through it. Start by finger tightening it. Snug the screw down to keep the grommet in place. Then take your inside groove grommet assembly, slide the brass spacer in small side first, flip it around, and insert the Phillips head screw through the entire assembly. Find the floating nut inside of the saw and hand tighten. Leave this grommet hand tight so that you can move it out of your way when reinstalling the blade. Because of the double sealed stainless steel self-lubricated bearings, in all of our pulley assemblies, they have an extremely long life and may never need to be replaced. Now let's talk about the drive belt. It's a neoprene rubber, Kevlar reinforced belt with a groove cut down its length to house the blade. Each one of these belts will last approximately 3 to 5 standard or separating blades. A new belt will have a groove that closely resembles the shape of a standard blade. As it wears, the groove begins to widen, as well as deepen, exposing a copper color, which is the Kevlar reinforcement. It's recommended to replace the belt at this stage, as any further wear may result in damage to the saw and the blade, and you don't want that. Here's how to check if the pulley assembly needs replacement. With the belt off, rotate the pulley by hand. It should spin smoothly and freely. As far as the drive gear goes, it should last the life of the saw.